the music going. We got the stream firing up now. I gotta pop up my chat real quick. I forgot about the chat window already. I will post the links to the live stream in a bunch of the Discords real quick. And then we'll start reviewing this doc sheet.
Okay.
Okay, alright, here's one, here's two, here's three. Let's go self-promotion on the Hero Escapers too. 4. Okay, beautiful. Alright, DDance, let's do this. Welcome to the stream. Good time. Let's see, when was the last chat I did with Luke? Did you by any chance watch that one or catch any part of it?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Actually, wait, I think you were there, yeah. Because I think that was one where, what's-his-face jumped in too. Yeah, and you were there in the chat for a little. So yeah, you listened to some of it.
Yep.
Interesting chat. I like, I think, what's-his-face? Jack. Yeah, Jack has made me realize that, I haven't thought nearly as much about Hidden Chance as, I probably could have. Very unique. Alright, so everyone who is joining the stream, we have DDance, who was recently added to the customs group here. I'm just going to catch him up mostly on the things that we have done for our Zendikar expedition set so far. And we'll see how things go from there, I suppose. DDance, before I get on too much of a rant, about how much time do you have?
That's a good question. I am not sure, actually.
I'm probably only going to be about an hour. I probably have about an hour, give or take.
I should have about an hour.
Okay. Alright, so, you're probably already vaguely familiar, considering you've done playtests with me, but we got the,
Yep.
The whole thing behind what Luke and I are doing is it's basically just like it's going to be kind of a half expansion, but in the vein of the official AOTP expansions. So it's going to be, Zendikar Expeditions is going to be, it's kind of supposed to fill out the official Battle for Zendikar expansion from, you know, that AOTP release that whoever, Hasbro and Wizards did. But it's just that expansion was just like really janky. Like you got no terrain with it, and you only got the 2 planeswalkers and like a handful of creatures, and then a couple of spells. Like I think it was 3 spells per color. So,
oh wow,
yeah, it's a very small expansion. You're like, yeah, 0 terrain. What do you got? You got 2 planeswalkers in that set. You got the big old ruiner. Yeah, and I think you got like 1 extra army card for each color. So you got the red squad. I think there was a blue hero, a white hero. I forget. Basically, there was one army card for each color, other than the 2 planeswalkers. Yeah, and then three spells for each color. It was kind of a janky set, and I think one of Luke's biggest, I don't know if I'm gonna call it a concern, but I'll call it a concern because I don't know, I don't have a better word. But Luke thought like they could have done better with Zendikar. Like he thought it was like very lore rich, and like they should have done more to, you know, to eke the story, to bring the story and the other like important, I guess, story beats and or things like the oh, what are they called? The hedrons? The hedrons?
Yeah.
He wanted to bring those to light.
And
go ahead.
And I definitely think after hearing a little bit more about like Zendikar's lore at that time from, I believe, like 2 different planeswalkers, I'm pretty sure Borin was made for Shadows over Innistrad, but he was involved in the Elder Ozzy stuff on Zendikar.
He was.
Same with Ugin. So,
yeah, you got it.
Yeah, probably could have made those 2 planeswalkers for battle for Zendikar as well.
Yeah, actually, Ugin's a good point too.
Because actually, it was Ugin's plan to trap the Elder Ozzy Titan.
Yeah, way back in the day.
He made the plan. He just needed Thorin and Nahiri to help.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds all about right. Yep.
So I'm surprised that they didn't make an Ugin for that set.
That's a good point. We're not going with Ugin either. Well, you've seen we have the Gideon, and you and I played that Gideon, I think, in 1 or 2 games.
Yeah.
And then we have Anissa, which is actually on my screen right now, but we can talk about that in a moment.
Yep.
But yeah, so ours is basically right. So
that
we're
Gideon is awful to fight.
What was that?
That Gideon is awful to fight.
I don't think he's broken. Yeah, he causes you to have to play differently than most other planeswalkers cause you to have to fight, and I think that's good in my opinion.
Yeah.
He's a very unique play style, that is for sure. But anyway, so as I said, yeah, this whole Zendikar Expeditions is basically in the vein of the Battle for Zendikar, only words where one side of the board will be grass and the other side of the board will be water, which is interesting to say the least. Yeah, a whole lot of water. But so we basically we want to try and basically say, if you want Battle for Zendikar to be a full set, it's like you mix it with this is kind of what we're doing. It's like this is like an easy stepping stone for us to like just we're making a small set. Again, there's 2 planeswalkers. There's going to be 1 color or one creature for each color as well. We're adding colorless spells though, so we're adding like anywhere from 3 to 5 spells for each color, and then we're adding 6 colorless spells. Just to get colorless spells in there. Now that colorless creatures were already a thing, so it's basically in a way to make it. We're adding, of course, a bunch of fresh new things to the game, but Zendikar Expeditions, if you combine it with Battle from Zendikar, the AOTP release, like this will feel like basically a full set. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, when the stream began. Yeah, when the stream began, I had just gotten to the start of the spells as well, so I've read all of those creatures, and I've read the first white spell.
Oh, good. Well, I'm going to skip through them. I'm going to go through with you real quick on stream, just so in case you have questions or something. We're just going to kick it off with Nissa.
Okay.
So we got Nissa, Waker of Zendikar. You see her life, move, range, power, toughness. She's really...
Yep.
I don't know, she's semi-similar to the old Nissa, but not. As far as, like,
She doesn't move 10 mil. she doesn't just teleport across the map in one turn.
Yeah. Yeah, she has base 6 move. This one does.
Which is probably a good thing.
Yeah. This one has base 6 move instead of base 5 move and then sprint later. She has much lower range. This one has a range of 5 instead of a range of 7 too. Like this, yeah, this Nissa is definitely more of like a close combat Nissa, like mid to close range. And her abilities also kind of augment that, I would say. Like she has, she basically has a pet tree that she can start with. The long story short is, you spot like she has a pet tree that you can quote unquote summon. Although Luke and I, in case you want to hear a little backstory, we thought about making this tree like count as a summon, but it got really wordy because first we said we put the tree on the card, I think was what we put. Yeah, we put the tree on the army card. Now that I think about it, we probably could have said, hey, put this tree in your reserve, and then like when you summon it, it counts as summoning an army card. But long story short, yeah, we thought about trying to like make this wordy and say that the tree counts as like a regular summon, but we decided to go against that. And like, so when you put the tree on the map, it doesn't take up a summon. Like, it's not a resource. You just remove the tree from the card and put it on the battlefield somewhere, or within 5 clear sight spaces. Yep. So it's really similar to summoning, but it doesn't take up one of your 2 summons for the turn. I personally didn't think...
And it's kind of similar...
Go ahead.
And it's kind of similar to theories like, oh, hey, I'm going to place a sand tile here now.
Yeah. That's actually a good point, and I'm not sure if Luke and I had actually seen that, but that's actually a really good point. That is like she's starting basically with a piece of terrain on her card, and you can place it on there. Yeah, place it onto the battlefield. So yeah, in that vein, this is kind of similar to Nahiri. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, so yeah, playtesting it. Yeah, I never had any major concerns playtesting it. Like, I played a couple scenarios. I played it, you already know, like I played against like every color. There was maybe once where I was like, wow, like this felt kind of powerful, because like I was able to summon 2 cards of creatures and the tree to, I think, like completely surround somebody or something. Like, because I put the tree down and then a bunch of creatures, but that was one time out of probably a dozen games, so it did not feel like it was too powerful in any way to just say put the tree on the map and it's not considered a summon. Nature Stirring is basically just she quote unquote bonds with the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tree is basically just like a zombie. I mean, in all reality, it really is like the Ghoul Vanguard. We copied the same stats from the Ghoul Vanguard, where it's 1 life, 3 power, 3 toughness, move 4, range 1. It's just that it's at the end of Nissa's turn.
And you gotta put the 1 life in case if the Nissa is fighting the OG Gideon with Counter Strike.
Yep. Well, that, or if you want to move and attack with it, it's subject to LEAs. That's why we say it becomes a creature. So that at that point, yeah, it's a creature with 1 life. And yes, that did come into play with Gideon, especially. The playtesting with Gideon, it was like, I don't want to take a turn with a tree because it'll just die to Gideon. But yeah, the other half of that is that if the tree like is engaged, or like let's say the tree's already next to an enemy figure and you choose that you want to use Nature Stirring on it, yeah, you can't go very far with it. Or if you do, you risk a 50% of it, 50% chance of it just being destroyed. And considering trees are really, they're not really unlimited or anything, like, yeah, it's very tough. I know I didn't do it very often, if ever. That I would take, I would voluntarily take an LEA to get away from a figure so that I can move the tree somewhere else, because it was, the trees are basically, they get tied down pretty easily. Because you really just can't risk an LEA with them, because it's a 50% chance that it disappears.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways that I think this Nissa, it sounds kind of broken on paper, or at least I think it does, but after playing with it a bunch, and I think I did nerf it, I want to say she did have 4 toughness, but when we get to Attuned, which is her last ability, I think Attuned made her, when she had base 4 toughness plus high ground plus Attuned, she was extremely hard to kill. So, that and 7 life on top of it, like being basically 6 toughness and 7 life was really tough. So that's why we tip, or at least I decided, I think, to knock her toughness down to 3. But yeah, so when she's within 2 clear sight spaces, when she can see at least 1 tree, within 2 clear sight spaces plus 1 power, she can do that by herself. thanks to her one ability where she can spawn a tree. And then she gets +1 toughness as well, I guess. I don't know if we need to reword this, but the point is that basically she gets +1/+1 if there's at least 2 trees within 2 clear sight spaces of her. Which she can only do that on any given map if she brings, oh my gosh, Ashaya.
If she brings a tree in.
Well, yeah. Well, so she can bring one tree. Yeah. So maybe I'm not sure if you read that far, but Ashaya also, that's one of the abilities for Ashaya, is that it counts as a tree for.
Yeah, it counts as a tree.
Yep. So she can fulfill. That's just a synergy, and we have some spells. I think at least 1 or 2 spells that also ask like to put a squad next to a tree or something. It's either in this set or it'll be upcoming anyway. And so we try to add some extra synergy so that Ashaya isn't just for Nissa to get the attuned bonus. But yeah, the point is, right, that Nissa brings 1 tree and then Ashaya counts as the other tree, so that in case you're playing on a map that doesn't have any trees at all, then you can at least generate basically 2 of your own trees to take advantage of attuned.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm surprised that isn't in either Battle for Zendikar or this, or Zendikar Expeditions, is an Omnath.
I think we may have talked about that briefly. I don't remember.
I'm just kind of surprised that, yeah, because at least from what I'm seeing on Google, he didn't play a part. Well, it didn't play a part in the Eldrazi stuff. I'm just kind of surprised.
And that might be why, because Luke wanted to stay closer to like the stories, like what the lore or whatever the story of Zendikar was at, for the Magic set in 2015 or 2016 or whatever it is. Which is why I mentioned we're bringing in the hedge-runs. The hedge-runs are going to be like a new terrain piece that you can interact with, and we're going to have a scenario where you have to use the hedge-runs to basically kill the Eldrazi, or to re-trap them, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't think Omnath was part of the story, but I understand that, and I think I want to say I mentioned that, I'm familiar with Omnath because I've seen customs and stuff. But I don't think it was.
I think there are.
Go ahead.
I want to say there are 4 different Omnath cards. There's 4. There's Locus of Mana, Locus of Rage. There's another one that's all 4 colors, and then the 5-color one from, I believe, Mark of the Machine.
Wow. Yeah, I know Omnath was mostly red and green, right?
Locus of Mana was green. Locus of Rage was red and green.
Okay.
The 4-color one was everything but black. So, yep, he just slapped on white and blue when he became the 4-color one, more mana.
Yeah, that was basically it. Yeah, I like the idea of Omnath, but I think we decided on Ashaya being the big green key piece here.
Yep.
Where I think Omnath would have also clashed to be green or maybe green-red. Or maybe multiple colors, which...
Because definitely... I will actually check when the 4-color Omnath was released. I think it's Locus of Creation that it is.
Yeah, we definitely have to do a lot more chatting about when we get to multicolored creature to make a white red or a green red creature. There's no such thing. They only made dual color planeswalkers in official AOTP. But let's face it, we're gonna go there with creatures eventually. I think we're gonna try that in the next set though, after this one.
Mhm. Yeah, so it would be a while before Locust of Creation would be made.
Oh yeah.
Because it was released with Zendikar Rising in late 2020.
Yep. Yeah, that was more recent for sure.
So yeah, it would either be Locust of Mana or Locust of Rage.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah. So I think there was just too much conflict with just with the Shia trying to be like the kind of the huge piece in this set. Then again, we also tried to do the Eldrazi Titans, and I don't know if you saw the chat, like the text chat that we were talking about. Was that with you? Maybe it was with you. I forget who it was. But in the Discord, we were chatting about like trying to fit the Titans in and like trying to find good miniatures for them that we could use for AOTP. But like there wasn't really anything that worked really well.
Yeah.
So you'll see in this set, if you looked far enough down, like we're adding a colorless Eldrazi hero, which is going to be cheaper than the Ruiner. Oh, sorry, there's two heroes. I forgot. There's the 10-point hero, which is, well, cheaper than the Ruiner, but not what I was getting at. But the colorless 10-point hero is basically just like a filler for every... Because this game sorely needs more cheap figures, and a cheap colorless figure will just... You can put it in any army that you want. So it's just an easy filler, so at least you're not, you're not playing 30 points short. Instead, you're only paying 20 points short. But yeah, then we have the other hero. The other hero is, what, 120 right now? I'd rather see him get costed closer to 100.
120.
Yeah, I want to see him drop to 100 if I can, but I haven't play tested him yet. But I think maybe Luke and I ballparked him at 120. We'll see. And then we got the other squad, which again, this is like a beefier Eldrazi squad to put the fear of the Eldrazi in you instead of the cheap Scions who don't really do, like, they're not terrible, but they're just kind of cheap and there,
They're like a Nissa. They move across the map in one turn.
Yeah. Which is fine. Yeah, it gives them like a little niche, but the Mindrakers is the other squad down there. They're gonna be like slower and bulkier and like make you you don't want to be near them.
Yeah.
But anyway, we jumped around. So we got Nissa out of the way. We got Gideon here next, the other Planeswalker. Oh, so Nissa, this is mono green Nissa, and then the other one. The other Planeswalker we're putting here is Gideon, who's going to be mono white. You've played him. I mean, I think, didn't you use him once, and then I used him once?
I think both of us have used him once.
Or at least, yeah, in games against each other, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Luke's gotten to play against this Gideon once or twice as well. With me, anyway.
This Gideon is the bane of my existence when fighting white.
He's fun. He's very defeatable, though. Yeah, he only has 5 move and a range of 1. I think he might be the only Planeswalker that has a move of 5 and a range of 1. So he's, like, really slow. But yeah, he makes up for it by being an absolute monster in close combat. So it's like, yeah, you really...
Yep.
He's not... There's no, like, surprises with this guy. It's very much... I think it's very in tempo with the way white works in AOTP, that he's just, like, really bulky. He can hit really hard. But he's not, like, super mobile, which is... The other Gideon at least has a little more mobility and a little more toughness.
Yeah.
He encourages a different play style, for sure, this Gideon. I like
it. It's certainly interesting, I'll give him that much.
You think he was overpowered?
He's good. I'll give him. I'll give him that. At least with how I play AOTP, he completely counters me.
Oh,
because,
how so?
I have a feeling you know my favorite squad, right?
I don't know. I'd guess it's the Restless Zombies, but I don't know.
Hessig.
Oh, the Kessigs, yeah.
The zombies are second. But the reason why I like the Hessig is because they hit hard.
Oh, they can, anyway, yeah. Like, at base, they're really not a whole lot different than most other figures. Like, they have power of 3. That's like, I feel like most squads have power 3. There's a couple with power 2, and then there's a couple of power 4, but it's... Power 3 is pretty average. But yeah, it's just that the stupid double attack, and then the like things like Titanic Growth especially, is just, it makes them so good, for sure. But yeah, that is exactly it though. That's kind of the reason behind this Gideon, is to say, how do we stop Titanic Growth from just outright killing every Planeswalker it touches, or Twin Flame, and that's how this Gideon kind of came to be. It's like you can roll, you can roll 10 hits against this Gideon, it doesn't matter, he takes 1 damage. Or at least as long as he has a power counter.
Yeah. Like, dang it, there goes my favorite strategy.
Yeah. Oh, that strategy was completely overpowered though. Yeah, Twin Flame and Titanic Growth are easily, they're just so busted. And even him, he's still not like that good. It's like you can still, like if you're double attacking with a Kessig, I mean you're still getting 2 damage and removing 2 power counters from him, so it really is pretty significant against him to be able to do that.
And if you have the second Kessig, you'll get rid of hopefully all 3 of his power counters and do 3 damage to him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, this Gideon isn't it's not brain dead Gideon, not at all. You're right. That you absolutely have to still position. Like this is, he's still very beatable in my eyes, and yeah, for that reason exactly, because it's like any squad can absolutely destroy his power counters, and then therefore like remove all of his protection.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
except for maybe the Phoenixes. If the Phoenixes don't have any buffs, they are not getting through Gideon.
He only has 3 toughness, so this is... Phoenixes are still... They like to fight this Gideon much more than the other Gideon.
I can believe that, because the other Gideon has Counter-Strike.
Yeah, and 2 more toughness.
Which... Yeah.
Yeah, defensively, this Gideon is less terrifying against melee troops. As a matter of fact, you're probably better off trying to swarm him with melee troops to kill him. That's kind of the point. Is... Like, this Gideon is very good at defending, first of all, against massive single target damage, and then also killing single targets, given he hasn't been swarmed beforehand. But like, one-on-one against like any Planeswalker, he's basically going to win, including... I wonder, does he beat Obnixilis? I forget. I remember that was one of our points that Luke and I were talking, though, because this Gideon costs 360, and the other, our Obnixilis costs, I think, 385, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But funny enough, I did do I think I did at least 1 playtest, maybe 2, of this Gideon against Obnixilis, and Obnixilis all together. You know, it wasn't just one-on-one, but rather, like, there was armies involved, and Obnixilis, I think, won both of the games.
I can believe that, because I think one of the things that Obnixilis is pretty good at, despite never playing him at all, is I believe it's at any price. You just snap one of your zombies out of existence and draw a card.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you've probably seen me do that. Well, that, and then yeah, he can do the same to Gideon's squads too, which is
yeah.
Like, yeah, Gideon can draw an extra card, but I forget. I forget usually.
I'll have 1 card.
Yeah, like it's like that one spell usually doesn't make up for losing a whole squad figure, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a tough trade, but more times than not, I would rather just murder. You know, I'd rather just have a squad guy disappear and give the other guy a free card. And once you get to the end of the game, then it's literally you just kill squads for free, and there's no draw left because there's no spells left, right? So Yeah, his.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not super concerned. Like, I think this Gideon can generally beat Obnixilis, like 1v1, if there's no other spells, no other squads. Like, if you just put them both on a hero escape field and let them bash it out. I think Gideon tends to win, but that's fine considering, Obnixilis is like flying and his at any price, which has a lot of utility outside of not only just killing the enemy squads, but kill your own squad, especially your zombies, to get extra draw, and then you can have the zombies come back later. So I don't really mind that Gideon can beat Obnixilis 1v1. But when one of the other guys, who was it? The one kid that was part of the group. Well, before he left, I remember like him and Luke especially were talking about how like Gideon was supposed to be like a monster in close combat. Like he would just like kill apparently like giant beasts in like close combat or something. Like all of his magic is like very much like close combat master. So I personally think that what we have set up here kind of is more in line with like a big beefy white mage who can beat the sun out of people. It's like the other Gideon kind of gets that across with Counter-Strike, but the other Gideon sucks at 1v1s. Like he only gets 4 power. He doesn't have any range, so it's very hard for him to like kill something like the Eldrazi Ruiner. Like the Ruiner could beat like every Planeswalker in a 1v1, except for I think this Gideon and Obnixilis, honestly.
Or maybe Nissa because of the sprint.
Yeah, Nissa and Sprint, would be another one. If the map is large enough, she could probably do it, But like this guy is, again, supposed to be like, alright, heroes can be overpowered too, especially if you stack them with buffs. So this Gideon kind of laughs at that and beats the crap out of heroes too. Hieromancy helps him with that, because it allows you to, I mean, Hieromancy's really good, it's just super buffed Detain from the hookers. But you can declare either a squad or a hero, and they can't take a turn. So it's like, if you feel threatened by a hero, you just Hieromancy it, and then you can punch it 2 times without it being able to do anything. It's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a lot of talk about Gideon.
Another thing that I do like this Gideon. One thing that I do like this Gideon for is he pretty much counters all of my custom Phyrexians.
Yeah, that's his thing. He tends to counter.
Except for...
He tends to counter when there's too many resources placed on one figure. Like he if you go all in, and that's again that kind of goes with the Titanic Growth and the Twin Flame, where it's like you can ultra burst like any Planeswalker down with those spells and the Kessigs. This Gideon absolutely says no to that, which is the point. You have to play a little differently, not just go to your single all-in wins. But go ahead, I keep talking. Go ahead.
I think the one Phyrexian Praetor that I did make that he would kind of struggle against would be Urabrask, because of him giving the other guys haste.
Yeah. Yep. Right, that's entirely it. This Gideon hates, like, like even the Phoenixes, like a lot of attacks of 2 versus his toughness of 3, like you'll probably, if all 3 Phoenixes attack him, you probably get 1 or 2 damage in, honestly. I would say probably at least 1 damage.
Yeah.
Like, he hates a lot of weak attacks. I mean, if you can get a lot of strong attacks, even better, but usually, you can beat this Gideon down by just shooting him a bunch of times. Again, like, use a lot of squads or Urabrask, like a lot of haste, a lot of things with like 3 power, because there's no Counter-Strike on him. So swarm him and kill him ASAP. Make him take LEAs so that he loses more power counters. Like, he has weaknesses. It's just, it's different compared to standard AOT play, or AOTP play that most of the other Planeswalkers would die to.
Because he definitely destroys Vorinclex, that's not a question.
Yep.
Elish Norn, he'd be fine against Elish Norn.
Probably.
Sheoldred, he'd destroy because too toughness.
Yeah. Sheoldred would do big hits though. Well, big hits meaning like 6 power versus his 3 toughness. Like whatever. It would get like an automatic wound every time it hits Gideon, which is he has a life 5, so it's like he's not gonna like 1 damage,
Yeah, and then Jingataxius, I think would do the next best against him, especially if he can get his creation out as soon as possible, so the creation has like 5 toughness.
Yeah. That would help for sure.
So like the creation can just sit in front of Gideon, keep him engaged. And I have a feeling Gideon wouldn't really want to risk the LEA, so he'd probably try to attack the creation.
Yep. Yeah. That's one particular weakness about this Gideon. Yeah, is that he hates LEAs more than most Planeswalkers.
But yeah, the other 3, Vorin, Klex, Electron, and Fieldred would not have a great time against them.
No, I don't think so.
And even then, I don't think that Urabrask by himself would not stand a chance.
No, yeah, absolutely not. Urabrask, yeah. Urabrask is definitely more supporty.
Yeah.
Vault Nurse. Welcome to the stream, Vault Nurse. Green would wipe the floor with this guy. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah. Funny enough, Vault Nurse, and DDance, I forget if I told you or if you've seen the stream, but back when we first started playtesting this guy, I think we had him at 6 life and 6 move. And I think his Indomitable didn't have like the whole remove a power counter. Like his Indomitable was just flat static all the time. It was just whenever he took damage, it was always reduced to 1. So it was, you know, it was no limit. And Green was the only one. Yeah, I did many playtests, and yeah, Nissa was the only one who was ever able to beat him. And it was, I think she had like 2 life left in the one playtest. He was pretty obscene when we first made him. And like we thought he was tame at that point. Like we thought we made him tame enough so that he wouldn't be so destructive. But yeah, he's come a long way down from his first iteration. Hieromancy was also
That's probably
unlimited.
a good thing.
Yeah, Hieromancy was also unlimited, I forgot, in the original iteration. So it was every turn, I think, it was every turn you could choose something within 2 clear sight spaces, and they couldn't take a turn with it next time. It was so... Like, it ended up being where, like, Gideon would literally just, like, solo entire armies, because it's like, if the enemy had a hero, you always Hieromancy the hero, and then you try and chase the opposing Planeswalker down whenever you could. Yeah, like, I had at least 2 or 3 games, like, against Chandra and Sorin, like, who were using 1 or 2 heroes. It was, like, Hieromancy was always, like, as soon as they summon the hero, you go close enough to the hero to Hieromancy it, and then kill something else with your attack. It was so... Like, and then the hero would do nothing the entire game. Gideon would pound the Planeswalker, you know, into dust, and then go back and kill the last hero while continuing to Hieromancy it. So it was like, at any point, like, if you summoned a hero, it was dead on the spot, unless Gideon was destroyed first. It was bad. Yeah.
That does not sound fair.
Yeah, it was completely unfair. I was like, wow, this guy's off the rails powerful. Yep. So anyway, that's why Indomitable now has a limit, even though it's still really good, and Hieromancy is only once per game. So anyway, yeah, that's a fun fun background about that guy. Anyway, let's move on. We've talked a lot about the Planeswalkers.
Yeah.
So creatures, white hero. Serene Steward. This is basically a support white hero. I don't really have a lot to say about this. It's a cheap white hero, considering white already has Evasian and the core captain at 100.
Yeah.
And they can also buy the Ruiner if they want. This is basically just a cheap hero that can assist with squads, but also help heroes too. It's kind of supposed to be like a mix. Has a very short range to give white a little utility. What's this? So treat wounds.
Overall, just looking at it.
Go ahead.
Overall, just looking at it, it looks pretty balanced.
Yeah, I how many? I think I did at least 2 playtests against each color with it, and yeah, treat wounds originally I think said when you summoned her, but I just like never found a way to. So it was like, yeah, it was like when, instead of at the start of your turn, it was when you summon her. You could remove a damage marker from a small or medium creature. I want to say it may have been even when it was adjacent, but I can't remember for sure. But the number, the 4 clear sight spaces, I think that was different too. And that just ended up being useless after like 5 games. I was like, I can't do, like, treat wounds is just not doing anything, so I changed it. So, it says at the start of your turn, so this means this is the start of player turn, you don't even have to activate Serene Steward to use this ability, which is, again, that's intentional. This is like a passive figure that you generally kind of just like summon. It's close to Raylin in that way, like that's what Build Courage is. It's kind of a, it's a nerfed version of Raylin. But each unique creature within 4 clear sight spaces gets +1 toughness, while there are no enchantments on that creature. So that works well with squads. That could work with the heroes too. It also helps to drive white away from the enchantment-heavy game that it kind of already does. And I tried like mixes of builds with like white using lots of enchantments, and white only using a couple of enchantments, and using the Serene Steward, and I liked it enough. Like it felt good in either build, I would say. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say though. It's a cheap 50 point. It was never broken. Like I feel like I think I was tempted to put it down to like 40 or 45 points, but it felt okay at 50. So.
Now going on to blue, I believe that.
Yeah. The Mind Eye Drakes, who have been really fun for me to try and figure out. Sometimes I still wonder if I've really figured out if they're good at this point cost or not, but they felt fine. Yeah, so it's a 3-man Dragon Squad. 2 life, 6 move, range 1, and then 3/3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really bounced around with them anywhere from I think 70 to 85 points, and changing their abilities a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but a bit. This is what I sold it on not long ago. What do you think of them?
I think they look like they could actually be pretty fun to use.
They're okay.
Like, oh boy.
Go ahead.
Like, oh boy, can't wait to play blue so I can use this one specific squad.
Yeah, they're interesting. They're definitely not frontline fighters. Like they can't. Like they get attacked and they generally just die. Their stat line is actually pretty close to the Scions. Like it's just they have 6 move instead of 7, and they have flying, which is also slightly in their favor. And then Final Gaze. Yeah, Final Gaze I found really interesting. It's got a lot of weird synergies. Maybe not a lot, it's got a couple. The one in particular that I liked was with Kiora. Because like when you have Kiora's, what's it, the Bident. The Bident, when you stop in the water and you can pull 2 cards from the top of your deck. And then it says you have to place them, or you can choose one that's a sorcery and then place the other one on the bottom of your deck. That Final Gaze, like in case you like your top 2 cards were both cards you really wanted, Final Gaze gives you the ability to pull that card that you had to place on the bottom of your deck. You can put it back on top.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know how often that happens, but it's a potential to be like, right, if you use Bident Athasa, and let's say you pull out, your top 2 cards were, I don't know, Unsummoned and Royal Mage's Trick, where it's like those are both pretty key blue cards in my opinion. And it's like, yeah, Bident Athasa says you can only choose one of them, and the other one has to go to the bottom. So like you have no choice but to be like, well, I'll take one, and for any build without the Mind Drakes, effectively the other card is it's not really removed from the game, but you're waiting until the end of the game to be able to use it. Where Final Gaze is like, all right, all you have to do is get one of the Drakes destroyed, or I guess kill it yourself. Because it says when a Drake is destroyed. So I guess you kill it yourself, and then you can put that card back on top of your own deck if you want. But yeah, it's a really neat ability. I like it a lot. That you can just pick any player's library. It doesn't have to be your own. You can look at the bottom card of their library. I remember in the one playtest, I was going blue against black, and I found Altar's Reap on the bottom of Black's deck. And so at that point, I decided I would just rush Liliana down, like knowing Altar's Reap was at the bottom, that she would be much easier to kill. And yeah, blue ended up winning that just because of that. Like, it was just too easy. That and the Moondrakes having flying made like that specific tactic easier because they can just fly over everything with stealth flying and attack Lily, which they ended up doing. I think one of them died really quickly, but the other like one or two of them got a couple hits on Lily, and then Jace finished her off with Project Self. Yeah, it's very blue though. Like, it gives you, like, you can look at the bottom card of the opponent's deck and you can be like, oh, this card is trash. Well, then I'm gonna put it on the top of their deck so they draw a trash card. Or you can look at something like Altar's Reap and be like, oh, well, now I know they have a good card and it's at the bottom. You know, or their good card is at the bottom of their deck, so let me go through and kill them now while I know they don't have it.
And that Final Gaze seems like it's a fun ability overall.
Yeah. It's interesting. Stealth Flying, I personally think that Move 6 and Stealth Flying are more the reason I want them more than Final Gaze, but Final Gaze has, yeah, there's some use for it. On paper, like, it doesn't sound like it's very good, but if you sit and think about a bunch of things that blue can do, it's a little more synergistic than than you would be led to believe by just reading only this ability. But yeah, in my opinion, it's the Move 6 and Stealth Flying that really sell these guys. Like, they are pretty terrifying, because if you get high ground with them, they get 4 power.
Oh,
It's especially terrifying against Planeswalkers, yeah. Which is why I was hesitant to put them lower than 70 points. I almost want to put them at 75, but whatever. Most games, they didn't feel like they were doing that well that they deserved more than 70 to 75 points. Like, that they should have costed more than that. Like, even on good games where, like, I would get 1 or 2 high ground attacks against a Planeswalker, it wasn't... They still weren't, like, overwhelming in any way. Anyway, on to the next one. Black Hero. Indentured Spirit. You played this guy.
Here.
What's up?
Yep.
Oh yeah. Anyway, yeah, we played this guy a couple times, and I think we tweaked him. I think I had him at 85, and I think after 2 games with you, yeah, it just felt like he was just bad. So I think after those games with you, I think we added the +2 toughness. I don't remember, but I remember we definitely dropped the cost. Because yeah, he was just. It's hard for him to contribute in a game full of ranged figures. When he's got low move and no flying. But that's fine. That's his job. His job is to kind of be like a terror against, like small, like ranged, like, or not ranged, like low movement or low range figures, especially like the heroes. He's also good as a glyph grabber because of his Eternal Torment. That's always fun. So it's like if you drop him on a glyph, then your opponent like has to either kill him, which will trigger Eternal Torment and give one of their guys -1 power, or they let him sit on the glyph. So he's got a couple of uses. I like him. Like, I don't think he's broken. He's semi-easy to kill, but he has his place, and that's what I want. He has a niche. He has his, he has a job, and you can make him do his job.
Like, he seemed like he has his uses in armies. I just don't see them.
Yeah, that's fine. No, arguably, like, the Restless Zombies are just better than he is. Like, they're 60 points, and like, frankly, the problem is that the Restless Zombies are just, in my opinion, they're poorly costed. Like, they're really good at 60 points. Like, Blacks, I don't know. See, I think the Restless Zombies, I feel like, are the only ones I would probably take. Well, that and maybe the Blood Chasers. I would probably take over this guy, like, every single time, but it's like the Ghoul of Vanguard is kind of mediocre, in my opinion, and I think I would prefer this guy over the Ghoul of Vanguard most of the time. I don't know, I guess I'd have to do more playtesting to know for sure, but For 75 points, like I don't feel like black has a lot of really fantastic creatures other than the restless zombies. Everything else just seems mediocre for the most part. And I think personally that he ups the ante a little bit, not a ton. Like yeah, again, I don't think he's that good for 75, but I think he's better than most of what black offers. That's just me. Anyway, on to the red hero. DDance, have you seen any of my playtests for this guy?
I have not, I think.
Or if, I don't know if you read any. I don't know if you've known, but I guess while we're on the topic of playtests, you should be able to go to the Discord under the Planeswalker Arena Customs section, I suppose, or the what is it? The category, whatever it is, in the AOTP server. You can find the playtests, and I think even in units, I may have put some playtests in there. I definitely mix things up a little bit. But if you go to playtest and you go to view the threads, you should be able to find. So I have Gideon here, I have Serene Steward, I have Mind Eye Drakes, and we just started doing Mind Rakers. Yeah, so it looks like you have to go to playtest for some of them, and then units for the others. If you go to units, like you'll find my other playtests there. Ashaya, oh, and then Zada's Commando. I think a lot of my playtests are there if you want to read those sometime. Or at least look at the pictures and maybe get an idea of what I thought. But I feel like, you know, if I had to pick like my favorite figure from this current expansion, this guy might be it. I think this guy is super fun to use. Like his just the stuff he could do is just really, he's fun and annoying.
He looks like he would be a pain to deal with if you're not playing green.
Wait, what is this
like
trample at? Hang on, I gotta edit this. He was supposed to have trample too, but yeah, he is. Like for like a bunch of melee figures trying to kill him, yeah. He doesn't, the good thing is he doesn't like output a ton of damage by himself either. Like he can kill a few squad figures and then he'll usually go down. Like I think I played red against white with him and like he killed a couple of like maybe Rocks veterans or hookers and then he died. Like he was pretty often getting about 100 points worth of kills or damage. Like I think he also shot Evasian for a little damage in the one game. So like he might look, I don't know, he might not even look busted, but some parts of me thought he looked busted on paper, but the more I played him, the more it was just like he's mostly annoying against range or against melee figures, and even then he can usually only kill so many of them, and he usually kills like about 100 points worth. But let me get I gotta update the Google Docs real quick here because I added trample to his ability, to his too much gear here. Oh shoot.
Oh gee.
But it's only if he rolls one blank. So yeah, he doesn't always have trample, but he will have ranged trample. That's the difference. Is if he rolls one blank, then he has trample, and it is ranged trample, which means so like he can shoot something that's up to 5 spaces away, and then he can trample damage onto one adjacent figure from there. But there's some caveats to that. I mean, the number one is that you have to roll a blank, which means if you're rolling 4 dice, if one of those is a blank, like the max you're rolling is 3 hits after that. Right? So it's like, you're not going to trample a ton of damage with this guy, I don't think, on the average, again, in the average shot, and that's like you got to roll 1 blank and 3 hits, which is, it's a lot of random / situational, but it's still like nice that like he has the whatchamacallit, not really an option, but I guess the potential to do trample. And it mostly only works against, what's their names, black and red, because of the phoenixes and the zombies.
Yeah.
And I guess kind of against green for the elf rangers and their 1 toughness, but they also have 3 life. But if they get weak enough, like if they have 1 life remaining and then he shoots them, then yeah, there's good chance for trample.
Yeah.
But yeah, trample, like you would think it sounds busted like this, but I played a few games and I'm not even sure if I ever got it to happen once, honestly. Maybe once?
Oh.
Whatever. I find it cool and thematic, even if it's kind of random and honestly not super likely to like happen in the average game.
Mhm.
He gets trample. No, that's fine. That should be good. Alright. So anyway. So he's got 6 life, 5 move, 5 range, 4 power, 3 toughness. I mean, that's pretty... It's kind of unfortunate, but that he's really similar to pretty much any of the other heroes. Like, I think his stat line is exactly the same as the Royal Mage, except for 1 less range. Is that right?
Oh.
I think it is. I think the Royal Mage has this exact stat line, except range of 6. Now, the abilities are different.
Yeah.
The abilities are very different, and that's good. Like, the abilities will generally set things apart. Not all the time, but often. But yeah, like, if you look at, like, every other 100-point hero, they generally have 6 life, 4 power, and either 3 or 4 toughness. So it's like, and honestly, they usually have 5 move. I think only, like, Evasian and the Core Captain have 6 move. So it's like, this is, like, a very standard stat line for a 100-point hero in AOTP. Like, this is... He's by no means, like, breaking new ground or anything with these stats. But yeah, so too much gear. You've probably read it, but whenever he rolls at least 2 shields during his attack, he just gets plus 1 hit, 1 automatic hit. Again, it just makes him more consistent. That by no means makes him more powerful, because, like, if you rolled 2 shields, that means 2 of your dice rolled shields. Like, that could have been 2 swords instead, had you had a luckier roll. It just makes him... I basically looked at too much gear, and I looked at, or when I was making too much gear, I looked at the Fire Cats. And I was like, well, the Fire Cat's Intense Strike is broken, because, yeah, it says, like, if you roll at least 2 hits, you get 1 additional hit. So I'm like, what would make him more consistent instead of more, like, wildly swingy like that? And I thought, alright, instead of rolling 2 hits, then you get plus 1 hit, let's say you get 2 shields, and then you get plus 1 hit.
So it essentially turns one of those shields into a hit.
Yeah, in a way, it's... yeah. As long as you roll at least 2 shields, yeah, you convert one of them to a hit, is kind of a way to put it. But yeah, it makes him pretty consistent. Like, every time you attack with him, you pretty much get 2 or 3 hits. He's really consistent, and I like it for that. And anytime you can add more attack dice to him, more power, I should say, he feels better. Like, if he has high ground, he's often getting 3 hits, like 3 or 4 hits. Yeah, but the trample, like I said, the trample is kind of eh. When I was playing, like, against red and black, well, I didn't do a red mirror match. Wait, what am I saying? At least I don't think I did. But when I was playing against black, like with Lily, I was usually with Lily, I just put the rest of the zombies not adjacent to Liliana, and usually not adjacent to each other. So it's like, I don't think it ever happened, because it's kind of easy to position yourself to avoid trample for the most part. That's why trample's usually just not that good in general. Like, I think trample's much better in the card game than it is in AOTP.
Yeah, it is. It is really good in the card game.
It has uses. Like, if you don't pay attention to it, you can be destroyed by it in AOTP, but I don't feel like it takes a whole lot to play around it. But whatever. Again, just having... He's the only range figure with trample right now, and again, it's not... I don't think I would ever want to make a range figure that has consistent trample as, like, a base ability. That would be... I feel like that might be too terrifying, or it would just have to have much lower power to compensate for the ability to threaten everything with trample on a range attack.
If anything, it would probably be, like, a Planeswalker that would have it, if I had to guess.
That would be cool, and that, yeah, right. If I would do something like that, that's a good point. That, yeah, if I was going to consider trample, yeah, it would be a range trample. A Planeswalker would be the place for it, I think.
Probably. I personally put it on Nicol Bolas.
We could talk about that when we get there, but yeah, that would probably be thematic enough, because, I mean, he is, like, ultra busted and powerful, so why not?
Yeah.
When we get to Amonkhet in, not the next set, the next set is going to be Kaladesh, and then the set after that, I think we're going to try Amonkhet, and I think if we're going to do a Bolas, I'm not sure if we're going to, but I have a feeling Luke would want to do it, and I kind of want to as well. That, yeah, we'll talk about it at that time for sure. Yeah. Do we need to go soon? Okay. Okay. Alright, DDance. my time is just about up. So let's just finish talking about this guy, and I gotta kill the stream soon. But anyway, yeah. So too much gear basically just makes him a little more, or maybe I should say a little less swingy. I don't know. Basically, it's hard to not do something with this guy every time you attack with him. Like, he's almost always going to do 1 or 2 points of damage. At least against something that has, like, 2 or 3 toughness, which is most squad figures, especially.
At least it's consistent. I do like that.
Yeah, I would say he's pretty consistent. Oh yeah, so we have First Strike, which again, this came through a couple times, but mostly against like the 1 and 2 toughness figures. So First Strike is just, yeah, if you roll more hits than the defending guy has in toughness, then they roll no defense. This mostly came down to he was one-shotting the Elf Rangers, or like he would get 2 damage on them at once. I think that's the only time I noticed it, is when I did Red versus Green. He may have gotten it on a Hooker in Red versus White too, because Hookers only have 2 toughness, but again, yeah, First Strike is, again, it's like a compared to the card game, it's very, like, it's hard, because it's hard to be consistent here, because yeah, you have to have, first you got to roll all the hits, right? You have to roll more hits than the other guy has toughness, and a lot of guys, maybe not a lot, some creatures have more toughness than they do in power, but not all of them, actually.
Yeah, for First Strike and Double Strike are 2 abilities that I think would be difficult to put into this game.
Yeah, First Strike was already officially implemented by, what is it? What's the card? It's the white spell card. CZ Initiative?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's a white sorcery. I think it's a 10 point. It's not very good. I'm pretty sure I rated it pretty low in my tier list YouTube video. Yeah, because it's just like spending 10 points to give your guy First Strike. It's like First Strike does nothing unless you roll enough hits, and like the rolling enough hits is just completely random to begin with. But again, it kind of synergizes with too much gear in that he's pretty consistent in being able to get 2 or 3 hits, so you can very often get First Strike. And I guess also First Strike synergizes with Trample in this way, that it's like when you go against those 1 or 2 toughness guys, if you trigger First Strike, like, then you're doing full damage, like you're doing 3 damage to something, and then that means you can more likely trample damage as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, altogether, like, First Strike doesn't, I mean, first of all, it only works against creatures, and that's what the card says, the spell says it only works against creatures. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, that, and it's like the heroes. Do any of the heroes have less than 3 toughness? I'm pretty sure all their heroes have 3 or 4 toughness, so it's like, it's rare. What was that? Say that again?
Unless you count Indentured Spirit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's a very unique hero for sure. His stat line is definitely different. Yeah.
I have a feeling spiritual next for the Commando.
Yeah, I think Commando would probably destroy him. I actually haven't pitted most of these customs against each other. I usually only play official AOTP. That might be something fun to do though, just to play a couple games, like, of the playtested customs against each other, to be like, we know that they're balanced in a scenario or an environment where it's all official AOTP and then just them as the only custom. But yeah, it would be fun to put them all against each other at some point. But yeah.
Yeah,
God.
That's the customs that are made currently.
Yeah. Yep. And then Survival Instinct has a lot of funny synergies with Red, just as his last ability. Whenever he takes damage, you can immediately move him 2 spaces and no LEAs when he moves that way.
That just seems kind of fun.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, it has a lot of fun synergy with Red spells. Well, I want to think it was Pyroclasm and Rush of Adrenaline, which I think Rush of Adrenaline could use the synergy, because I don't think, again, Rush of Adrenaline is like very, it makes me kind of shake my head. Because you get to move 4 spaces and then you have to deal damage to the guy that you moved. It's just like, eh. This makes it so it's like you can move him 4 spaces and then deal damage and move him 2 more, and he doesn't take LEAs from the extra 2 that he moves. So, I don't know.
So,
It's got synergy.
it gives it better use.
Yeah. It gives a couple of the red spells a little more use, which I think is good, like some of the kind of crummy red spells. It'll give him probably a little more synergy if and when we come out with a red-black Planeswalker. Like black has a lot of the self-damage stuff, like Painful Truths. Like you could tap him with Painful Truths to draw 2 cards, and then you can move him 2 spaces. Not that that's something you would particularly want to do, because that's still a lot of damage, but it's an option, and it's a unique synergy. Like, I like it. I think Survival Instinct is a lot of what makes this guy fun.
Well, one thing that I actually thought of is whenever a Ravnica set is made, just like make all of the guild masters a creature, like a hero.
We could probably do something like that.
There's probably quite a few guild masters. I can name 2 of them right off the top of my head, being Niv Mizzet and so.
Oh yeah, Niv Mizzet. That name sounds familiar. Yep. Yeah, that might be fun to do that. I wonder what Luke would say. I would definitely want to get him on board for that, but I think I'm okay with that, just off the top of my head. It's like, I don't know a ton about it to begin with, so it's like, sure, sounds like fun, you know?
Yeah, and I don't really know a whole lot of the guild masters, I just know those 2.
Ah, okay. Alright, but I gotta kill my stream here, though. What do you think of these guys, though? So, all the ones we talked about so far, all those figures, and the Planeswalkers, we've play tested them, like we're basically considering them good for the set, like they're going to be put in the set like this. What do you think of it all?
I think it'll be pretty fun. Like, yay, more creatures to experiment with, more spells to experiment with.
Yeah, if you want. When we're done with the stream, feel free to read the spells. We haven't play tested any of the spells. Like, all we have to do is finish play testing the colorless stuff, the Eldrazi stuff. And then we can start working on the spells. But, yeah, you can see all the ideas we had for our spells if you want. Have fun. Maybe we can talk about that next time or whatever in Discord chat or, you know, in text chat or whatever. But anyway, I gotta get cruising. I do have family things to do today, so I'm heading out. So number 1, I'm gonna kill my stream. Anyone who's still in the stream, Vault Nurse, if you're still around, thanks for being here. As always, Discord links in the description. Hit them up. Join us if you want. We're always willing to chat AOTP.